Let's watch why RuneScape's most loved moderator went rogue. 3, 2, 1.
Mod Ash is RuneScape's most
Whoa.
beloved Jagex moderator. He's made
Oh,
some
he
of
lost
the game's
weight.
best content over his almost 20 years at the company. So, what upset him enough to write articles like Reasons to Hate Jagex
Wow.
on the game's most popular fan site? And how did Jagex react when they found out? Our story begins in what most people refer to as the golden age of RuneScape,
Okay.
2007. Clans had massive battles in the wilderness every day, jaw-dropping content like the God Wars dungeon had just been released, and the
Ooh.
community was both active and generous. It was a good time to be a nerd. But much like the Roman Empire and its golden age, RuneScapes would also come to an end, and it would end quickly. Players didn't know it yet, but during the seemingly perfect period of the game, Jagex was having a massive problem internally. Credit card companies were on the brink of not allowing Jagex to accept payments anymore for
Ooh.
something that wasn't even really their fault. This is Timmy. He sucks at RuneScape.
Okay.
But he really wants a party hat. He knows how cool he would look and how jealous his friends would be, but he's far from being able to afford one. He could spend hundreds of hours grinding out money-making methods and earn one, or he could do what a lot of kids did back then.
Okay.
Borrow his mom's credit card and buy the gold he needs on a gold selling site. Gold selling sites are against the game's rules, and
Yeah.
buying gold could get his account banned, but he takes the risk anyway. He receives the gold, buys his party hat, and everything seems awesome. Well, Timmy didn't know this, but he picked a pretty dodgy site to buy gold from. Sure, he
Ooh.
may have gotten what he was after, but the site owner now also has his mom's credit card details. The site's owner then signs up for a bunch of RuneScape accounts, buys membership on them using Timmy's mom's credit card, and starts botting on all of them to earn more gold that he can sell. Once Timmy's mom notices all of the charges, she calls up her credit card company and gets her money back. Poor Timmy though, his mom probably chewed him out for that one. Now, this
Yeah,
wasn't
fuck
just an
Timmy.
isolated incident. This exact same process was happening hundreds of times a day, and credit card companies were pretty unhappy about it.
Oh,
They
shit.
finally told Jagex to fix it, or else they wouldn't work with them anymore. They were tired of all the chargebacks coming from their website. At the time, about 70% of RuneScape's members paid their membership each month with a credit card. So if something didn't change soon, Jagex would be put out of business literally overnight. But how could they fix it? They weren't the ones stealing the cards and didn't have the resources to shut down every gold selling site in existence. Really, they only had two options to stop these sites from operating, and neither was one that the players would even remotely like.
Okay.
But first, let's talk about something I know you'll like. Today's sponsor, Crumb's Store. Crumb makes
Ooh.
these fantastic resin-cast RuneScape figures. They're super smooth, beautifully painted, and they're actually heavy. You can see and feel the quality when you pick
I
one
can
up.
see
now,
the,
because
like,
the quality is so high,
polygons.
they're only made in small batches that sell out pretty quickly. In fact, this is the first restock since last Christmas. The giant mole is already sold out, and
Wait, is a giant mole low-key kind of cute though? Hold up.
this is the first restock since last Christmas. The giant
Is that kind of cute? Oh my god, I love it. It's so adorable. What the shit? The Chinchompa thing is also very cute. What the heck? It is so cute. What the hell? Imagine just going to your friend's house and all they have is like a giant mole on like the table. How do you even address it? You just don't. You just look at it because it's cute. I see why it's sold out. Exactly. Oh my god. Okay, hear me out. Since we want to get into Warhammer, right? What if we get a 3D printer and we just 3D print a giant mole? Warhammer is moles? No, Warhammer, you can like apparently 3D print the little like figure guys. So like I could hypothetically print out a giant mole, right?
giant mole is already sold out, and Jad is going quickly. So if you see something you like, you'll want to grab it. Like maybe their newest release, Zilliana. I personally love how much the colors pop on this one. It just looks so good. Now, they're running a promotion this week only on my channel, where if you use code NELLO20 at checkout, you'll get 20% off your order. So make sure to use my link in the description and grab one before they're gone. Now,
Can I get an 07 in the chat? This video is from like a year ago. Can we get the giant mole now? Genuine question. Oh my god! It works! Stop! We can get the mole! We can get a raccoon! I mean, I don't care for the... Oh, this is... I don't know what this thing is called. Like they're like... They're like water like rats, right? Whatever this thing is called. Oh, why $50 though? I don't want that. What the fuck? Bob the cat. I don't know. You know, like it's like a rat, but like it goes in the water, right? I don't know what they're called in English. Fuck.
Now, to keep business going, Jagex either had to start selling gold themselves or remove the ability for players to trade so nobody could transfer gold or items between accounts. They didn't want to ruin the fun of the game by making it pay to win, so they chose to severely limit trade by making any real transfer of wealth impossible. But you could still kill someone in the wilderness and pick up their items, so the ability to fight other players in it would have to be removed too. Now, Jagex couldn't just remove what was at the time the game's most popular activity without providing some alternatives. That could do more damage than losing the credit card companies. So Jagex staff were informed by upper management about this update fairly early, so they could get some alternatives ready before the update went live. To give you an idea of how staff members felt about all this, there was a big whiteboard in Jagex's offices that listed every update that was being worked on, and the removal of the wilderness and free trade was listed as the update of Ultimate Doom.
Damn.
Something to keep in mind is that even today, many of the Jagex staff members that work on the game are also RuneScape players. They know just how bad this update was going to be and hated working on it. This is where Mod Ash comes in. He had recently been promoted to the role of content developer and was handed off 2 of the 3 projects that would replace the wilderness. But not right away. First was Clan Wars, essentially a big arena where 2 clans could face off against each other, sort of like what they could do in the wilderness before, except without gaining loot. Before this project made its way to Ash, a different developer was working on it, but then they left the company. Unfortunately for Ash, the project was then handed to him. It turns out the previous developer didn't really know what he was doing, and Ash had to rewrite just about everything. The second project was Revenants. They were ghosts who roamed the wilderness that would basically replace PKers. They could use all 3 combat styles, freeze you, heal themselves at low HP, and drop valuable loot. But originally, they were going to be, well, stupid. The developer who first designed them did things a little differently. Instead of revenants just roaming around the wilderness, whenever you entered the wilderness, a timer would start. When the timer hit 0, a revenant would spawn next to you and attack you. This might not sound too bad, except that the timer wasn't very long. Another revenant would likely spawn before you could kill the first one, so you'd pretty much be surrounded by ghosts at all times.
That sucks.
This meant you couldn't do things like mine a runite rock or read a clue scroll, and good luck trying to do the wilderness agility course. Now, the worst problem of all was if they froze you. The original developer used the wrong freeze code, so you couldn't eat while frozen. You could have a full inventory of food, and all you could do was sit there and watch your character slowly die. Now, what do you think the content team manager said when he saw this heaping pile of garbage? Great, let's launch it. The guy had worked on other games before, but didn't really understand RuneScape. He saw that it seemed to do what the design document said it should do, and there was only 3 weeks until launch, so he thought it was just good to go. Luckily for us, Paul Gower, one of the co-founders of RuneScape, was also on the content team. His brother, Andrew Gower, intervened, and the project was soon passed over to Mod Ash to fix. All in all, Ash was not very happy with all this. He was working on projects he knew the players would hate, his bosses knew very little about RuneScape, and the office had transformed from an awesome, lively place to work to a tense environment where an argument between developers and management could break out at any second. Jagex and more so RuneScape were heading in a direction that wasn't good. So Ash did something a little risky. He started talking to the players. Secretly. So back in 2007, Jagex was a much more private company than today. Nobody knew what any of the Jagex moderators looked like, and they didn't have social media accounts where they could be easily reached. The only chance you'd really have to ever speak with one was through the forums, or if you got lucky and caught them in game. And even then, Jagex had rules on what could be said. So Ash wrote up an article titled Reasons to Hate Jagex and anonymously submitted it to the tip.it RuneScape fan site.
I can't tell if this is massive hater energy or this is like the biggest brain play I've ever heard in my life. I genuinely cannot tell. Is this like a giga chat big brain play, or is he a massive fucking hater? Holy shit. Yeah. Ugh.
Site under the screen name Armadillo. If the tip.it admins liked what he wrote, they would publish it in their newsletter. Lucky for him, they did, and it was soon posted front and center. Now, this article's title makes it sound so much worse than it actually is, but reading it, knowing now that it was by a Jagex moderator, it almost seems like a warning letter to the community, and maybe you'll agree with me. But a bit of backstory first. This article was actually published a little over a month before the update of Ultimate Doom. In the previous year or so, a pretty popular sentiment had popped up within the game's community. Many players had come to the conclusion that Jagex hated them, and as a result, they hated Jagex. Whether it was the latest quest being underwhelming, that they skipped a weekly update or two recently, customer service wasn't replying, or a dislike of seemingly stupid rules, many players felt that Jagex was out to get them. Even the slightest inconvenience would be seen by some players as an attack on the game they loved, or once loved.
This sounds like Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh my fucking god. Every time a new ban list drops, it's literally fuck Konami. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, I feel like every game is secretly, like, the dev team is secretly hated by the players. Just every ongoing game, right? Hi besties, it's me, Miwa, and if you're enjoying today's video, please consider subscribing, okay? Like, please, times 1 billion. I'm like really asking this of you, Nick. Just has like fans who just hate the fucking devs. Yeah, it's every online game ever. It's so funny. It's actually kind of insane. But Konami's actually evil. You know, I'm gonna be for reals. Whenever Konami drops like a ban list, right, I'm just like, cool. Cause, you know, it do be like that. It's a pretty basic method, I guess, but also, like, I mean, he's kind of getting the ball rolling, right? So, hey.
Ash knew about this sentiment and witnessed it personally all the time on the RuneScape forums rant section. He knew that the update of Ultimate Doom would be 10 times worse than anything players were already complaining about, especially because they wouldn't understand why it was happening. Jagex actually planned on not completely telling the truth when this update launched. Instead of outright telling players credit card fraud was the reason the Wilderness and free trade were being removed, they wanted to spin this update as the ultimate bot and real-world trading killer, which, if I'm a player reading about this, I'm thinking, if you're trying to kill bots in real-world trade, there's a million other ways to do it besides removing the game's most popular content. Ash knew that a large chunk of players would absolutely lose their minds, and perhaps wanted to get ahead of the curve. So, what did he say in the article? Well, in a recent update, Jagex decided to make a controversial change to shops. They were given unlimited stock of whatever items they sold to stop bots who spent all day emptying out shops and flipping what they bought for huge profits on the Grand Exchange. This sounds great, as you'd no longer show up to a shop and not be able to buy what you were after,
okay.
But it also ruined tons of money-making methods and training methods for legitimate players. Many of the more popular botted items were removed from shops entirely. Zaf and the Magic Guild no longer sold battle staffs, charter ship workers no longer sold sand, and so much more. This led a lot of the Jagex hates me crowd to double down on their stance. Like, they're taking away my training methods to fix their problems, or they're doing silly little updates and not fixing the big problem. Ash would go on to say that sometimes what's best for the game isn't exactly what the players always want. They went ahead with an update that they knew players would be annoyed by in the interest of eradicating bots. Most striking of all, he says, Jagex has made it abundantly clear that they're pulling out all the stops to tackle the problem.
I actually kind of get that, and I do agree to like a certain extent, yeah, that like, okay, when people like, you know, they're basically shooting themselves, like kind of, they're basically cutting off like an infected toe, right? Like the bots, they're cutting off like an infected toe. And, you know, you're not gonna be able to walk properly for a bit, but it'll sort itself out, right?
Despite the cost to themselves. Knowing now that the update of Ultimate Doom would launch less than 2 months later, I almost see this article as Mod Ash trying to explain ahead of time that the update wasn't because Jagex hates their players, even if the players would hate the update. Now, based on the article's title, I'm sure you were expecting something much more dramatic and less pro-Jagex, but we're not quite there yet. When the update of Ultimate Doom launched, Ash published a similar article explaining why it had happened. happened. In the article and over his next few articles, Ash would take on a sort of RuneScape dad role. He would reassure players that the game wasn't going anywhere, promising cool updates are on the way, and the update of Ultimate Doom wasn't because Jagex hates you. But I think the longer Ash wrote these articles, the more bold he would become. In his final article, the focus wasn't on explaining Jagex's actions, but instead about what they were doing wrong. We're not quite to that article yet though, so we all know the botting problem on RuneScape is bad. There's good years, but no matter what, there's always a group of people making money by not playing the game.
Yeah.
Even after the update of Ultimate Doom, botting still did exist, albeit at a much smaller scale. Ash decided to write an article about Chinese gold farmers.
Botting on like a lower scale is asking your girlfriend to play your fucking account for you. Okay, I'm a hater. I'm sorry. I'm a hater. But yeah, honestly though, I do like PT at such promise. I don't like Konami for how they did Kojima dirty. You know, true. Very true. This game would have died in 09 if they hadn't done this update. MXC. Yeah, honestly, I completely get where Jagex is coming from. Like, in hindsight, right? I get it. But if I were playing at that point in time and they took away a ton of like QOL, I'd be pissed, right? But I guess it do be like that. You know, it do.
As at the time, they did statistically make up the bulk of people who botted. He was especially proud of this article, and even had his mother read it. After doing so,
Damn.
she said,
"It was very well written, darling, but is it about pornography?"
So, yeah. Ash's mom wasn't exactly as familiar with the internet as the rest of us, and thought bot was short for bottom. And this big problem that Jagex was having all these years was that Chinese players wouldn't stop showing their bottoms to others in-game.
Stop, that is stupid. There is no way. That is actually stupid. No. What? No. They thought that was the issue? Oh my fucking god. Okay. His mom is crazy. His mom is insane. His mom is a G. But also, what?
But if you think that's awesome, I have to show you some of Ash's forum posts. Most were just helping out confused players or explaining why Jagex does certain things, but there is some absolute gold in here. So Jagex was doing a revamping of a lot of the game's dungeons, and a player on the tip.it forums was unsure of which ones were being changed. So Ash, aka Armadillo, responded to him with a list from the RuneScape forums posted by a Jagex moderator. He goes on to mention that the moderator posted the list at 3:45 a.m. in the UK,
wow.
which he says is a bit sad. But it turns out he's the moderator in question. He was the one who posted the list to the forums at nearly 4 in the morning.
Why would you call yourself sad? Oh my god, sir. What the fuck? This is I don't know, man. He's kind of insane for that. I'ma be real. Huh? Nande? Chotto matte. He's kind of base. He kind of is. He's like, fuck the mods, but secretly he's a mod. You know? Fair.
In another post about the discussion of bugs, Ash posts that he loves seeing all the weird different bugs that get discovered. He even has a big folder full of screenshots of bugs that I haven't even heard of.
Damn.
Someone asks if Ash can post them, and he says he was playing RuneScape at work at the time, so they're all locked up on his work computer. Now, perhaps the most interesting forum post of all is him criticizing his own update, Clan Wars. He says that the update could have been so much better. It has no features, no ability to choose arenas, tons of the scenery gets in the way, and there's no rules you can change to allow customization.
Damn.
He understands Jagex needing to replace the wilderness with something that doesn't lead to real-world trade, but he hates how it was done with Clan Wars. But you might be thinking, if he thought it sucked so much, why didn't he just make it better when he was making it? It was his project after all. Well, much like Revenants, Ash was given almost no time to develop Clan Wars. Once the basic features worked, it was considered good enough for launch, and Ash wouldn't be given more time to add what he wanted. This leads us right into the final article I've been teasing, making our own entertainment. Ash had seemingly cracked the code on why the update of Ultimate Doom was so hated. It removed the player's ability to play how they wanted, and was instead replaced with a rigid, inflexible system. Think about it like this.
Guys, can I just say, hold up.
Was instead replaced with
unregistered hypercam 2 is so fucking real. If you know, you know.
with a rigid, inflexible system. Think about it like this. Before the update, you could go out and have a war with your clan in the middle of the wilderness. If you died, you didn't have to wait for a minigame timer to end. You could just gear back up and run right back in. Or let's say you're close to death. You could loot food from nearby dead players and keep fighting. Clan Wars didn't have options like that. You either played it the way Jagex made it, or not at all. The same thing could be said with trading. Before, you could trade anything of value between accounts. Now you had a very specific system to trade, or you couldn't trade at all. You could no longer start your own army of players in all bronze and give out free sets to members. Player-driven gameplay is one of the best parts of an MMO.
True.
And Jagex was slowly but surely stamping it all out, and Ash was not happy about it one bit. Now, it seems this article actually really resonated for both players and Jagex staff, because not long after, Ash actually got to do exactly what he wanted to do to Clan Wars.
Okay.
He got to add features like being able to run back in, selecting how many kills are needed for victory, a lose items on death option for high stakes battles, a free-for-all arena, and so much more. But I said earlier that this would be Ash's final article, so what made him stop, especially when this one was so effective? Well, it wasn't exactly his choice. Tip.it was making some big changes to their newsletter. They wanted to have a regular rotation of bloggers, rather than just accepting articles from random community members. Ash was actually invited to be one of these regular bloggers, but due to a lack of time, he declined. Fast forwarding a bit, eventually Ash did decide to reveal to Jagex that he was Armadillo. He had a performance review meeting coming up.
That is insane. He decides to reveal that he is secretly their biggest hater before a performance review. 07. I know how this goes. I get it now. Also, did you guys feel old looking at all the 3080 quality uploads? Was it 3060 quality uploads?
And his regular manager was going to be unavailable, so a lady from HR would be running the meeting instead. During the meeting, he discussed all the amazing updates he made to Clan Wars. He mentioned that he'd sourced the ideas from clans who had read his Armadillo blog post, Making Our Own Entertainment. The HR lady glared at Ash when she learned this, and said, "You realize I'm going to write this down, don't you?" Ash responded by saying he was proud of it. He had spent hours upon hours of his own personal time engaging with the game's customers to help make a better update. She glared at him again and wrote it down on his review, but luckily nothing ever came of it. It seems that Ash's approach of speaking directly to the players was the right thing to do. He was just ahead of his time. Just a few years later, the new CEO, Mark Gerhard, realized how powerful social media could be for the game. Seemingly, every JMod would sign up for their own Twitter accounts to interact with the game's community, including Ash. Although he took a bit of convincing from Mod Reach before signing up, he's since posted almost 500,000 tweets.
Jesus!
Or X's? I don't know what's going on with that site. Nearly every single tweet is Ash answering a player's question, no matter how dumb some may be. So thank you, Mod Ash, for going above and beyond for the game and its players. Next year will mark 2 decades of employment at Jagex, and I know RuneScape would not be as great as it is today without your contributions. Kind of like how the game wouldn't be the same without Fossil Island, even if it sadly will never be fully completed. Find out why by watching the video over on the right. I'll see you there.
You know, I'ma be for reals, right? This checks out to me. Okay, he was just ahead of his time. He was just basically sorting through his own version of a customer feedback box. And that makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. He nailed it. He actually nailed it. Holy shit. That's why we call him God Ash. Yeah, pure passion of the game. Honestly, true. I don't think anyone could be that pissed about a game if they didn't actually really love it, you know? So hey, props to him.